You are not going to get Jim Jordan to say that what Trump did is anywhere similar to what Biden did when it comes to the Justice Department. It is not going to come close. You know, Dana Bash here is going to try to go backwards and forwards, left and right, up and down, to attempt to paint him into a corner. Let's see how he does.
3 weeks ago, President Trump named 3 people in that Truth Social post to Attorney General Pam Bondi that he wanted prosecuted. 2 of them have now been indicted. You're not only the Judiciary Chair, you also lead a subcommittee on weaponization of federal government. So will you be looking into this?
Well, look, I think that this Justice Department is applying the facts to the law. I mean, if John Bolton, a federal judge, thought there was probable cause when they searched John Bolton's house, you had mentioned him, that he mishandled classified information, apply the facts to the law. We'll see if they prosecute there. We know with Letitia James, for example, that you can't say it's your secondary residence and then, in fact, make it an investment property. It looks like she did that. They're applying the facts to the law, and there's that investigation. And, of course, we know with Jim Comey that he specifically hired this individual, Daniel Richman, to leak information. He laundered information through Richman, leaked that information out there. The Comey memos, for goodness sake, went through Mr. Richman.
So essentially, he just broke down step by step by step, point by point, to counter her point. Her point being that the Justice Department is being politicized, that Trump is forcing Pam Bondi and others to pursue these charges, pursue these cases, go after these specific people for these specific crimes. And I mean, Jordan is essentially saying, okay, well, that's not happening, number one. And number two, the crimes are evident. Right? If the crimes are evident, then they're still crimes. And then even if Trump did say, hey, this is an issue, take a look at it. Okay, but if the crimes are there, then what's the issue? They should be prosecuted. They shouldn't get to the point of where you reach the statute of limitation. Like with Comey, the reason why everyone had to jump on the Comey bandwagon so quickly is because the 5 years were coming to a head, which is when he lied to Congress. I guess whoever was in that position wasn't pursuing those charges, and Trump had to say, listen, let's get this done already. Like, are you really going to let this stuff lapse? Is 5 years not enough for you guys to figure this shit out? That's what Trump was saying. It's there. Go after it. Let's get it.
And then Comey, when he testifies, says something different. So that's why he's being prosecuted. So this is our Justice Department, under the leadership of the Attorney General, applying the facts to the law like you were supposed to. Not the weaponization of government like we saw under Biden, like we saw under Merrick Garland, like we saw with Chris Wray. So this is, I think, a completely different situation.
Okay, so let's just unpack some of that, if I may, Mr. Chairman. You were talking about the facts and some of the issues that went before the grand jury and allowed for the indictments in the case of James and Comey. But the question is beyond what's happening in the courtrooms or in the Justice Department. It's what's happening between the President of the United States and the Justice Department and these U.S. attorneys. And just kind of look at it big picture. The President pushed out the U.S. attorney overseeing the Comey and James cases. The President himself appointed this U.S. attorney, and that person was a Trump supporter.
Which he has the right to do.
Right, he has the right to do. But the President did so because he thought that this man was not pursuing these cases against his political enemies. So my question...
So right there, right? I mean, let's see where Jordan goes here. But right there, you don't know that, right? She's saying he thinks. He didn't explicitly say that, and he wouldn't, right? That's number one. And then number two, if he has the right to do all those things, so you're just impugning what your thoughts are. See, when it comes to law, when it comes to crimes, when it comes to specific type of, for example, possession of stolen property, right? If you purchase something that, somebody comes up to you on the street, say, hey, this thing is $5. Would you like to buy it? And you say, sure. You buy the thing. Now, in most municipalities, in most jurisdictions, you cannot be prosecuted with possession of stolen property unless you knowingly possess the stolen property, which is almost impossible to do, with the very few exception of somebody coming up to you and saying, hey, I just stole this. Give me $5 for it and it's yours. Then you take possession of it. And then that has to be documented. That has to be, presentable. That has to be provable. So it's a very similar case where you can't impugn what you believe was inside of Trump's head during this time period. That's exactly what she's doing.
And is, given the fact that the President has been so public about his desire for the prosecution of these people who he says are his political enemies, how is that just following the law inside the Justice Department.
Well,
Isn't this the political weaponization that you talk about?
No, you got to go to the facts of the case. The president has the prerogative to say what he wants, and he will do that. No one's ever doubted that the president will say what's on his mind and frankly do what he told the American voters he was going to do. So that's one thing. But this is about applying the facts to the law, and that's exactly what's taking place in this Justice Department. You cannot argue with the fact Jim Comey said one thing to under oath in front of the United States Congress. That's what he's being charged for: false statements to the Congress, 18 U.S.C. 1001. You cannot argue that he did that, particularly when you know the facts from the Inspector General with this individual Daniel Richmond,
who Comey
specifically
that the Justice Department
hired to launder information to.
She's trying to cut him off as he's really getting to the heart of the issue. You can say all you want that Trump may or may not have, done something to pressure anyone, right? You could say that all you want, but in the end, he's saying, yeah, but these things were done. These things were done in the public eye. These things are it's facts known to all. Everyone saw these things that were done. We all know that either they were lies or that he leaked information or I mean, go down the litany of things that he listed in the very beginning. So even if Trump is pressuring or not pressuring or talking or not talking, the fact still remains that the crimes were committed, and they were a lot of people in the public forum know about them because they were very apparent.
Folks like you in the press.
Do you believe that the Justice Department is acting independently from the president?
I think the Justice Department is applying the facts to the case.
But are they doing it under
the
pressure
law,
from the president? Are they trying to find ways to indict people who the president said publicly in that post he wants to be prosecuted?
I think that, Dan, I think they're doing their job. I think they are doing their job. I mean, I know the kind of information they're giving to Congress, information we did not get under the previous FBI director or from the previous attorney general. Information we had looked at this issue where the FBI and the Richmond field office did this memorandum on Catholics, saying if you're a pro-life Catholic, you're somehow an extremist. We got like a handful of documents from Chris Wray, even though we asked for everything.
Should they be doing their job under pressure from the president?
They are doing their job.
So you're saying you're comfortable with that?
They are doing their job.
But you're comfortable with them doing this?
Applying the facts to the law. I'm applying, looking at each individual case, enforcing the law, and applying the facts to that. And that's what I think is going on.
I'll add one more application.
The three examples that you raised.
Forgive me. I'll ask one more application to that. Applying the facts, applying the law, fine. How about applying pressure from the White House? You're comfortable with that, given the fact that you were very upset about what you called weaponization so much that you have a whole new subcommittee on it?
The president is speaking his mind, and I think that's entirely appropriate. What I know this Justice Department is doing is the good work that they're supposed to do, looking at the law, looking at the facts, looking at each individual case, and moving forward, I think, in an appropriate fashion.
Let's talk about these
You can't
cases.
argue with, I mean, Jim Comey, by the way, Jim Comey is where it all, so you talk about weaponization, that's where it all started. 9 years ago, Jim Comey's the guy who took the dossier paid for by the other
But
party's
that's not what
campaign,
he's being
Clinton
prosecuted
campaign,
for.
used that. I understand that, but I'm just saying this is, you want to talk about weaponization, Jim Comey's where it started. That is totally where it started. He took the dossier, went to the secret court to get a warrant to spy on the other party's campaign.
So this is
And
retribution
then they changed the intelligence community assessment after the first.
So you're saying this is
about
retribution against
looking
him.
at the facts, looking at the law. No, I'm just saying Jim Comey, this is, you mentioned weaponization. I'm saying that's where it all started.
Well,
what I'm saying is happening here is they're looking at the facts and they're applying the law to each individual case.
Let me ask about those cases. Are you worried, as an attorney and somebody who understands how these cases work, that what the president's comments are doing is actually undermining the cases when they actually come before a judge and jury?
This is so annoying. What Jordan is saying very clearly is the president is allowed to talk. He can say whatever the hell he wants. He still has free speech. He still has the ability to communicate his gripes, his angst, his whatever. Now, if she wants to correlate that with pressurizing a department, all right, I guess you could do that. So you're telling me that the president is not allowed to speak about certain things because of X. It's not an ongoing case that's going on. It's not. He's saying, hey, these guys did this from what I see, and we should go after them. This should be looked into. Something needs to get done about X, whatever that X is. Right. This is the point that Jordan is harping on is, hey, listen, he's allowed to talk. He's allowed to have an opinion. He's allowed to say what's on his mind, what he thinks. He's still a free man in this world. Granted, he's the president of the United States, but he's still a person, and he thinks that these people committed crimes and they should be gone after. I don't get what's the issue in that. Now, if you want to say that he's not allowed to talk about anything, he can't talk about anything. He can't. So you're saying what Bash is saying here is the president of the United States is not allowed to talk about anything that could potentially be become within the scope of the Department of Justice. Think about that. Think about that. You could totally flip this on her. You could say, so you're telling me that at any point in any time that a president, prior to the prosecution of anything, they were not allowed to speak about that stuff? No, that's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, we'll see how that'll shake. No, I'm not worried about that. Again, they're going to prosecute the case. Mr. Comey's presumed innocent. That's one of the great things about our system. And they will present the evidence in the court, and we'll see what happens as they move forward. But I am comfortable with them moving forward. I am comfortable with the indictment because I think when you look at the facts,
and you're comfortable with the president's role as well.
This is warranted.
Just to button that, you're comfortable with the president's role.
I'm very comfortable with. I'm very comfortable with this president. I mean, you talk about we're celebrating today what's happening in the Middle East. What he's done.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in this issue.
I'm so comfortable with the president. I'm comfortable with the president and how he's handled his entire responsibilities with this issue, with foreign policy, with the border, with tax policy, you name it.
I want to ask you about a flood of videos that we're all seeing on social media showing immigration officers across the U.S. using pretty aggressive tactics. There was one from Friday showing agents pinning a Chicago TV station employee to the ground. She was later released without charges. Another shows ICE agents shooting an unarmed pastor in the head with pepper balls. There were countless more showing agents tackling people, pulling them from cars, shoving journalists, detaining U.S. citizens, questioning their citizenship. Do you have any concerns as you see all this about how ICE and other immigration agencies are conducting themselves?
Look, I don't know the specifics of those examples you gave. What I do know is these ICE agents are under tremendous pressure. Many times you talked about, some people have raised a concern about them wearing masks and different things. Many times the Antifa people who are protesting against them in these, in Chicago, in these ICE-free zones, according to the mayor of Chicago.
I've said on many, many videos, I just want to reiterate, as somebody who is very close to, I guess, a law enforcement issue or whatever, that'll come, that'll get disclosed later down the road. I don't like any law enforcement hiding their face. It is an issue that you just can't do that. I get it. The fear of getting doxxed, stuff like that. Listen, it is part of your job. Part of your job is you have to be accountable. The only way to be held accountable is people have to see who you are. I think that everything should be done to keep them safe. After that, try the best to limit the availability of their residency and their full names and stuff like that. Just have their shield displayed. People have to be held accountable. Like I said, as somebody very close to this issue, that's something that I believe. I just think that going down that road of hiding your faces, you want to talk about slippery slope? That is a very slippery slope. We do not want to go that route where government agents, are masked up and unidentifiable. Not a cool way. Not a good thing to go down. Not a good road to go down. From what I've saw, like the pepper ball in the face, that was stupid. Whoever that was brushed it off. Not a big deal. And yeah, you got to get physical with people. That's part of the job. That's part of law enforcement. If you're going to go hands on, then we get to go hands on. Usually a level up. Law enforcement gets to go one level up from the force that you're using, with the exception of deadly physical force. Deadly physical force is met with deadly physical force. Anything that can be deadly to law enforcement will be met with deadly physical force. That's the way everyone is trained. That's the way it needs to be, unless something else is invented in the future. But yeah, I mean, going hands-on and getting messy, that's just part of the law enforcement deal. That's the way it goes.
I think they're functioning and working under extreme pressure. I think they're doing a good job by and large. I don't know the specifics of the examples you just cited.
Are you going to look into it?
Well, we're going to look into the whole situation where you have these mayors who are.
No, are you going to look into the way that ICE
sanctuary
is
cities,
conducting
ICE-free zones,
itself?
where they're being harassed by Antifa protesters who are wearing masks and doing all kinds of things, where I think threatening the.
So you'll only look into that side and not to make sure that federal law enforcement,
I'm not familiar with the three. I think you gave three examples.
Well, those were just some.
Three, but
there are lots of them.
Okay, well, we're the Judiciary Committee. We have oversight over immigration policy. We'll look into all this. But I think the ICE agents are doing the Lord's work. They're doing what the president promised the American people he was going to do when he ran for the job and was elected in a big way. So I think they're doing their duty. What's interesting is the pushback they're getting in these sanctuary jurisdictions and these ICE-free zones, where many times they're coming to, they've sent a detainer to the facility and they will release the person to the streets, the bad guy to the streets, and won't work with ICE at all.
Mr.
That
Chairman,
is a big problem, something we are definitely concerned about.
Mr. Chairman.
That happens all the time, by the way. That is actually the crux of the issue. I bring it up countless times. If these municipalities would just cooperate and say, okay, if you've been arrested for a felony, we would turn you over to ICE. They don't say that. That's not what happens. People can be arrested for murder in these municipalities, and if they make bail, there's cashless bail, but usually they'll at the very least apply bail to murder or attempted murder in some instances. If bail is obtained by the perpetrator, then if they're illegal, they still get released. They get cut loose onto the streets, back out there, get to do it all over again. No issues. If these municipalities would just cooperate somewhat and say, okay, if we have an individual that is has committed or it has the probable cause been affected to arrest them, believing that they have committed one of these actions, that we will go ahead and inform ICE. Just inform ICE. Hey, we got this guy. He was arrested for X and he's at our facility. Thanks. They don't do that. Big problem.
Chairman, we're almost out of time. I do want to ask you about the Trump administration started to lay off about 4,000 federal workers on Friday night. Your fellow Republican, Lisa Murkowski, said that this is something that will, quote, hurt hardworking Americans who have dedicated their lives to public service.
4,000 government workers. I might shed a tear for them, except for the fact that there are still over 2 million. 2 million employees of the federal government. It is the largest employer in the world. So, sorry for not being sorry. Sorry or not sorry that a couple of got laid off. Hopefully they can find other employment that is actually maybe doing something that we can all utilize better than whatever the hell they were doing.
Service and jeopardize agency missions once we finally reopen the government. Why is the president firing people who have no say in this shutdown?
Dan, the easiest way to remedy this is for Chuck Schumer to open up the government. I mean, we should just be clear. The real debate here is the one Chuck Schumer's having,
but
having with
this
himself.
is a decision by the
6
administration.
months ago, he voted for it. Now he won't. This would be so simple. He wouldn't even have to deal with this question if Chuck Schumer would just do what he did 6 months ago. But instead, he's hanging around waiting for Saturday. I'd be interested if Chuck Schumer's actually going to show up at this No Kings, anti-Trump, crazy left-wing rally that's going to happen in D.C.
So,
I think they're waiting for that because
so you're okay
he's
with
driven
using
by
this
the hard
firings
left
as
that
a
now
tactic?
controls the party.
You're comfortable with using the firing of federal workers as a tactic to try to
well, the administration, we got a
Democrats?
$37 trillion debt, and we got Chuck Schumer who won't open the government. What are they supposed to do? So that's the tough situation right now. Thank goodness the president's stepping up and saying we're going to help our troops. I mean, Chuck Schumer says every day gets better for them, thinking totally politically. Well, it's not getting better for the men and women who wear the uniform, and President Trump understands that. It'd be nice if Chuck Schumer and the Democrats understood that and vote for what they voted for just 6 months ago, for goodness sake.
He left it good, man. He did a damn good job here. Jim Jordan usually does. He's pretty great. He's very sharp. He's very on top of it.
Right, even though what's taking place.
He's
in this
just if you have anyone to listen to, he was a former like a champion wrestler back in the day. Pretty cool guy. A lot of great issues there. A lot of great. They hit a lot of really good issues. Went down the line, and Jordan was very sharp. Anna Bash, I believe she has a legal background. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, that went pretty well. He hit all the points he had to do. Everything ended up looking good. He got his point across, and they got to know that when he's coming on, he's gonna come on prepared. He's gonna come on ready, and you're gonna have to work really hard to get one over on him. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Please, I know I forgot. If you're still here with me, please hit the subscribe button. If you come this far, just hit the subscribe button. One little click. That's all I ask. I don't ask for likes. I don't ask for shares. I don't ask for comments. Just subscribe. I really appreciate it. If you want to follow me on the X, 6283 Talk on the X is the account. I am John Soto. I'll see you again on the next video.